I once asked the Earth a weird question over coffee, which was, are you just pretending to be third dimensional? And what I saw next changed how I understand time, the Matrix, and why so many of us are here now. So hi, if you're new here, we're going to be talking about the simulation theory. But not just the simulation theory, how it goes hand in hand with current events and is really important to understand now. And a little bit of the missing piece about time in the simulation theory and understanding that. And my name's Leanna. I'm a quantum energy healer, psychic, intuitive guide, and channeler. I do a lot of grid work, which I'm getting ready to embark on a trip tomorrow to Oregon to do grid work around the equinox, which is part of closing the Ouroboros by helping activate and establish the bridge harmonic that supports that. You can find other videos about that on my YouTube channel. And if that journey resonates with you, I would definitely appreciate support in the journey and for continued grid work, either through donation or checking out my services and meditation bundles. I've been having my self-healing frequency bundle pop into my mind this morning, so maybe it's a line for someone out there, but my self-healing frequency bundle is a meditation toolkit that goes over basics of self-healing through energy healing, aligning your cells and body, and then has deeper quantum meditations to assist with self-healing, including chakra healing, healing with your higher dimensional future self who's already gone through the healing that you need to go through, and healing with the Galactic Council of Earth Starship, which is a starship that my soul is a part of, and they do frequency healing, life force alignment, removing blocks and things on the ship. So if you're interested in galactic connections and origins, that's a great meditation to do, as well as the other meditations that aren't galactically focused. So let's dive into this share about the simulation. So like I said, one day over coffee, I asked the Earth, are you just pretending to be in the third dimension? It must have been a really pretty day, because as I looked around at the trees, at the earth, at the sky, it's like, something doesn't feel right here. And now it's not new to say that Earth was created in a higher dimension. That is something commonly mentioned through other channelers, other intuitives, and something that I have seen as well before. But I didn't receive a yes or no answer. What I saw was an astronomer looking through a telescope, changing out the lenses. And the knowing that came through was, oh, we're looking at things through the wrong lens. And prior to this, I had already been having knowings and realizations about a lot of other things that even the aware and higher consciousness community uses for healing, and other tools and things being slightly off. Not off to where they don't work in our current state, but not the octave that we need for how we are elevating. And something that I want to highlight is my question, pretending to be in the third dimension. That's a little bit of a different meaning than moved to the third dimension, or in the third dimension. And so looking through the wrong lens would imply you don't have to move anything. You don't have to shift anything physically. You're not jumping from one place to another. You just have to change the lens that allows you to see the truth of the earth field. And when you think about a lens, it's a piece of glass or transparent material used in glasses or telescopes or in your eye that helps light disperse or focus so that you can see it clearly. It might play a role in magnification and distance. And eyes, mirrors, and prisms are three of the biggest teachers in how light, how the universe, how our reality works. In your eyes, they have a neurocognitive connection that shapes how you perceive your reality and what you're willing to see, what you're willing to take in, and what your brain is willing to process. But in this video, we're mainly talking about the mirror. Again, I've had other videos talking about why not everything is a mirror for you, and why that statement, everything is a mirror without context or discernment, can be harmful. And this is why, because the mirror is not a natural state of being outside of the third dimension or the earth reality of perception. So where did this phrase, the universe is a mirror, everything is a mirror, you are a mirror, come from? Well, it's unclear. You can't trace it back to a single person. But as I mentioned before in my other video, it probably stemmed from interpretation of the law of correspondence, plus the law of cause and effect from the Hermetic principles. You can also lightly trace it back to Carl Jung, who discussed projections and synchronicities, and to researchers, metaphysicians, astrophysicists doing research. And you've probably heard the theory that Earth is in a simulation reality. A reality that behaves like a computer, spitting out binary code, forming our experience, or something like that. I'm going to be honest, I don't know. I'm sure there's ways other people define it. So that's just a very basic term. I'm not up to date on everyone else's theories and research. So I'm assuming you have a basic understanding of that. This video is not to explain the simulation theory. So I'm discussing a hybrid or extension of that, because the universe is a mirror theory is almost right. But understanding it is something that is important for now. And the mirror theory does not apply, in my perspective, to the universe at large. Only our perception of it. And the mirror only applies to the earth field reality. So this came about because a lot of my grid work is focused on the coherence, bridging time and memory, cohering past, present, and future. And so as you work on that, you hear a lot, time is broken. We're in a fragmented reality. Many of us have fragments that we're reclaiming from other times. So I just assumed time was fragmented here, if time is broken. So I was in the shower thinking about this, and I was like, oh, well, thinking, we're in fragmented time. And my soul corrected me and goes, no, you're in mirror time. So I'm not saying the universe is a mirror. I'm saying time is mirrored on Earth by design. To explain this more fully, I want to share some of my own insights and intuitive knowings that I've shared before on my videos, my Weaving Galactic History series, my channelings, other things that tie into these bigger understandings, which is I've shared through my own viewing and intuitive knowings that Earth was once a part of Orion's field. You can see that physically or energetically. And when the Orion Wars were reaching a catastrophic end, you can think of it, the last outpost, unless you make another outpost. And when the universe had come out of coherence, so there was a rift that was created that allowed an overabundance of dark energy to come into this galaxy into this universe. And dark energy by nature is not bad, but if it brings you out of balance and coherence, it offsets the scales. And it spread the separation of unity consciousness. And by unity consciousness, I mean coherence of mind, heart, and body, in connection to the heart of the all. So that spread throughout the galaxy, then the universe, then the heart of the all, cracking the heart. And so when the Orion Wars were approaching their end, losing, they asked to form a link with Earth. And they asked to go into a pause or witness mode where time was not moving forward and Earth moved. So by doing this, Earth took on a mission to help restore not only Orion, but also the all, forming this link. Earth entered a state where it was cordoned off in order to complete this mission. And Orion went into this pause or witness state in order to keep incoherence minimal. I've explained this before. And I have also mentioned seeing the tree of all, or what would say a tree of life, in stasis as well, and it needing to be reawakened through breath. I didn't explicitly mention my full understanding of that experience because honestly, I didn't know what everyone would think when I say that the tree of all being in stasis showed me that the universe was also in a witness state or stasis. So what do you guys think of that? And so when people talk about time not being real, or you hear from guides that time doesn't exist beyond Earth, I've always had a knowing that time was real beyond Earth, that it was a core force of the universe. It may not be expressed or experienced in the same way. So when you hear time is not real, or you hear from guides or channelers that time is not real, or that it's different, what if it's just our filters interpreting that time is not real, or not understanding what is beyond the mirror? And when guides or channelers say things like time is not real, what they actually mean is it's not moving forward. Not that reality doesn't exist. So we are cordoned in a carefully held and controlled state to heal, come back into coherence, which I also explain in my Weaving Galactic History series. And so knowing that we're in mirror time now, or hearing me share that perspective, probably have a few questions, but I want to continue to explain mirror time first. And this video is very informational. So breathe if you need to. But one of those questions that everyone probably has or is thinking, well, is mirror time the matrix or the false matrix? And no, it is not the false matrix. And if you have watched my other videos, I will say, do not call it the false matrix. Do not direct your blame for the systems and the hate onto the matrix. Why? Because there is a very real matrix, the mother field of the body of the earth, that holds you and allows you to co-create with your reality. And yes, there is a false mother energy, a false light energy that impacts earth. that is in the process of dissipating and being dismantled. But this energy doesn't just make it harder to co-create with your reality. It feeds off control and fragmentation, false love, and the mirror time to make it hard to collapse the mirror. We have reached a point that the energy of that has lessened to a degree where you can look beyond the mirror and see through it to finally close that loop. But your thoughts, projections on the true matrix impacts the health of that field as well, creating energetic blocks, distortions. So every time you project hate, fear, or limitations onto the true matrix, you are creating the matrix that you fear and feeding the false light. And really, it's a bit tiresome for those of us who are aware of the work to dismantle the false overlay. So, to recap, the true light matrix, the living mother field of earth that allows co-creation and form. Mirror time, a contained recursive loop of timelines that reflects distortions back for resolution, which we're going to go deeper into. False light overlay is control, distortion field that hijacks loops. It's thinning, but projections, fear still feed it. So let's go deeper into mirror time. What is it? So mirror time is a system of recursive mirror loops, harmonic waves of return. Earth is governed by a cyclical wheel of our planets and the constellations. It is a strict waveform harmonic of looping time. So you can think of Earth's temporal field as a closed mirror system, cycling the unresolved triad, which is the Orion Wars, Atlantis collapse, and Lemuria overthrow, until coherence restores. It's not punishment, but it's a staged opportunity to choose differently. So Earth repeats the cycles through time in order to bring them back into coherence, in order to choose differently and collapse the mirror, to see beyond the loops and cycles, make amends for the wrongs done throughout time, transmuting the poison into coherence. So Earth is repeating over and over again this triad of unresolved epochs throughout time: the Orion Wars, collapse of Atlantis, overthrow of Lemuria. What this means is that, almost like karma, although karma is resolved with love, actions of understanding and compassion, speaking up, and the mirror loop isn't exactly that way. It's solved with coherence. We have a chance to clear the recursive loops, to choose differently, and heal the rift within ourselves, within our society and communities, by coming into coherence, anchoring light into the grid, holding the frequency that dissolves the mirror. And our whole mission for everyone on Earth, whether they ever know it or not, is to collapse the mirror by coming into coherence and choosing inner union, outer understanding, and that coherence over the loops, to see beyond the mirror that is presented to us, and choosing more peace, more compassion, more humanness, more oneness, and anchoring and acting to restore the coherence of the Earth grid. Now, this is very important now, because we're at a turning point, and many of us can get caught up in the mirrors being presented to us because they're very convincing. And we're going to talk a little bit about those in a minute, because I almost got caught up in them myself, because I'm tired of seeing things happen to communities, to people, inflicting their choice on how they want to live. So back to mirror time, just to explain this in a little bit more technical terms. Mirror time is a timeline construct where time folds upon itself. Earth's temporal field is not moving forward linearly, but recursively resolving distortions in a contained temporal field. So the mirror time is the simulation, and nothing else moves forward until the mirror loop closes by resolving these unresolved energetic imprints, completing harmonic restoration. It's a sealed stage for harmonic convergence, for playing out the triad of epochs that we are resolving and restoring. And the main thing is having enough people stand in embodied coherence that helps the earth activate her song, and it completes her breath coherence. I want to talk about numbers really quickly. A mathematical key to this, which I don't fully understand the math, but I've seen what I need to know now, is the ever mysterious number 137. It boggles mathematicians. It's unexplained in physics. It's even Carl Jung has talked about it. It's the 33rd prime number, which is also very symbolically significant. We'll give a little bit of credit to Robert Edward Grant. I couldn't find his full paper that he put out recently that he says mathematically proves that we are in a simulation, but I did look at this graphic on his Instagram and get what I needed for this moment. But anyways, the keys of 137 is what forms the mirror and what collapses it. So why is that? In this graphic, there's the 1/137th. It's a constant of dimensions that governs how light, photons, and matter, electrons, behave. So in metaphysics, it is a gate between form and formlessness, wave and particle. This means it's a simulation boundary, or what I'm calling the mirror gate. 137 is a bridge harmonic. Hello, so am I. And constant. So when earth, breath, or song, as I say, returns to harmonic phase coherence through mirror recursion, it unlocks the mirror gate and resumes galactic time. In Robert's image, the circle with a radius of 1 creates light, time, space, motion, and scalar breath into a single harmonic wheel. Through the scalar breath field, Earth serves as what he calls a simulation space, what I call the mirror wheel. The Earth, or the circle, is the container, the simulation through which mirror time plays out. Now, in numerology, 137 reduces to 11 and then 2, which also provide important keys, a map really to mirror time collapse. So the numerology of 137, 1, the monad, source, singularity, the observed origin. 3, the triadic field, observer, observed, observing. The witness who creates in form. 7, completion, the harmonic totality. Then when we have 11, a master gateway number, it's binary unification pillars, the mirrored self, the twin gates in harmonic union, and 2, representing duality and the mirror itself. Now I interpreted and went back to 1/137 to reduce it to the numerology 11, 1, 11. 111 is mirror creation. Gives a new meaning to every time you see it on the clock. It is a single monad facing binary reflection, initiating the mirror separation into self and other, allowing observation to occur. This is the mirror time ignition. But as the mirror dissolution, when 1 merges with 11, it forms the triad, the 3, a harmonic trinity or witness consciousness, dissolving the illusion of separation, the illusion of the mirror, and restores coherence between the 3, between the observer and the observed. So you might say this is also the keys to a scalar recursion breath sequence, or a mirror collapse algorithm, which initiates quantum coherence and restores galactic time. So let's pause, take a deep breath, because we're about to go into a little bit of history and the most important part of this video. So don't go anywhere. Okay. Let's talk about the periods in our Earth's history where we could have reached harmonic coherence to collapse the mirrors. Because if you choose to delve into this further, if you don't already know much about these time periods, you can see where the cycle was distorted, where the consciousness raising was used as a weapon instead of to unify. And I know that these are the time periods where the mirror could have been collapsed, because these are the time periods where my most important memories stem from. So number 1 will be no surprise, which is the time period of the crucifixion of Jesus Christ, or Yeshua, and the triadic mission, which I've already shared in my Magdalene codes, of Mary Magdalene, Mother Mary, and Philo. This was sometime around 0 to 70 Common Era. So, during this period, there was a high harmonic field. There was understanding of the heart-womb or heart-root axis, of embodiment, word, flesh, divine union, feminine leadership, and lived gnosis, sovereignty of the human experience. However, Roman occupation, patriarchal suppression, fear of feminine gnosis and embodiment caused the dispersal of the codes rather than integrating them into the grid. I have also mentioned before from memory, the memory stream that I access, which may be different from other people's perspectives, and that's okay, is that Jesus, or Yeshua, did not carry the same mission as Mary Magdalene. And while also in the souled codex of Yeshua, he was not meant to be crucified as part of his mission. Mary Magdalene could have continued with her triad, and she did in the ways that she could. But I saw that most of her support, especially the male support, turned away from her in fear after Yeshua's death. So let's go over the themes mirrored then and now. Religious extremism versus spiritual sovereignty. Empire control versus divine remembrance. Divine embodiment as a threat and feminine embodiment as an even bigger threat. Attempted anchoring of harmonic universal union, but fragmented due to persecution and grid instability. Not enough coherence embodied in form. The second time period, the Golden Age, specifically the British Renaissance. All of the Renaissance contribute to the harmonic field. People like Francis Bacon, Shakespeare, the rise of alchemy, philosophical understandings, art. So you can say the mid 1500s to early 1600s. We can say Queen Elizabeth I, whether you support her or not, was a feminine example of immense sovereignty and intelligence, resisted marriage literally or symbolically to empire structure. And there were other powerful feminine thought leaders and sovereigns during this time, not as successful or long reigning. You also have the rise of alchemy, Renaissance magic, Shakespearean codes, mirror carriers of divine architecture. But the world was colonizing. They were splitting knowledge from gnosis, and the wound of power and fragmentation deepened. Some of the themes, then and now: feminine leadership under surveillance and suspicion. I will also say sovereign embodied leadership as well, not just feminine. Alchemy, magic, resurfacing, but not fully embodied, not fully creating with it in your reality, or understanding the keys fully. Code bearers, or maybe what you would say, some would say a light worker, hidden in plain sight and unreceived, at least fully. Examples: Shakespeare. Again, here we have a potential union, a sovereignty and divine feminine wisdom, divine body wisdom. But again, it fragmented, it's co-opted by empire forces. Then we have the first half of the 1900s, around 1910 to 1945. We have a lot of rise of joy, creativity and expression, understanding of the human experience through literary powerhouses, philosophers, dancers. Also understanding of the human mind. We have Freud and Carl Jung coming up. Pick the wrong one. It's also a massive convergence period of technology, science, esoteric societies, and timelines collapsing. But instead, it triggered violent backlash of distortion, weaponization of memory through propaganda, weaponization of time through Nazi occult timelines and false timeline planting, false events or false stories around those events, and weaponization of identity and lineage through genocide and other horrific cultural and racial persecutions. And I will mention that genocide is the worst offense against lineage and identity. Not only because of the act of killing a culture, a religion, a whole set of people who identify a certain way, but also because those who identify as part of the dominant identity who is carrying out the act of genocide, but they're not a participant in it. Maybe they're in a different country. Maybe they're somewhere else. Maybe they're an innocent bystander and have nothing to do with it. It also separates them from their identity and their lineage. It distorts their view of self, which could catapult them into a new understanding of who they are, but it can also disconnect them from repairing their own lineage. So code bearers, light workers, stood near, were placed near convergence, near chaos, near the bad side, but didn't act as anchors or interrupters, or could not. And so what I mean by this, there were souls that chose to work towards coherence and action in their incarnation directly within the circles causing distortion and harm, but could not or did not act due to pressure, threats, control, and fear. And this is partly why I say now, you can't judge someone based on, let's say, their political affiliation, based on where they are at in their career, based on surface perceptions. Because you don't know what their role is. You don't know what distortions are being presented to you. And you don't know the evolution of their soul path and what they are here to do. Some themes then and now. Technology opening doors too fast. Trauma fragmentation through war and genocide. Fascination with mysticism and lost knowledge, but used as a weapon, and fear, not unity. Timeline ruptures through war and distorted timeline seedings. False information and identities scattered the codes instead of anchoring. And you may feel that all of these cycles, all of these themes are repeating now, converging here now. Because it's a wave that collects. It's the wave loop that's folding into the collective now and repeating in order to recohere it. And this system sounds like bad luck, right? A bad structure. But this is how mirror time works. You will be shown over and over again the same mirrors until you choose to see them for what they are and not what people tell you they are. And still decide to live in embodied coherence, sovereignty, and union with the all. You choose to love anyways. And it is okay to be angry about it, but not at the mirror, not at God, but at the distortion that was seeded to separate you from actually being able to see it and committing to your own light and flame to always embody it in coherence. So during these time periods, there was harmonic potential to see beyond the mirror, embody the codes, anchor the grid, collapse mirror time. But they faced distorted pressure and lacked enough embodied anchors or grid holders. And by that, I mean it's not enough to just be awake. It's not enough to focus on love and light and good vibes only, because that may mean you're disembodied. You have to bring your spirit and your consciousness down through the body to be able to anchor it in the grid and in your experience. And those who have come into union with their mind, their heart, and their body. And it's also important to know that during this time, there are many of us who remember. There are many of us who are willing to act who were not then. And if you are not now, this is important. That you must continue to come into coherence with yourself and be courageous enough to act in alignment with your soul's truth. Because that is what will make the difference in these cycles. And acting looks different for everyone, depending on what you're here to do, what your soul chose. It could be the codes in the grid, doing grid work. It could be helping other people come into coherence. It could be politics. It could be entertainment. It could be protesting. The key here is knowing what's in alignment for you. So take a breath. And what's important now is paying attention to where the same distortion as before are trying to creep in. The propaganda, the persecution, the identity wounds through genocide. We're not here to let them keep repeating, but finally anchor the grid enough into coherence so that she can transcend the mirror. And I will say it isn't just the mainstream, the media, the political arena that will try to plant distorted and false timelines. It is also the spiritual arena. The channeled content, the buzzy propo-psychics that overgive information that they can't actually access from a source of integrity. Or the ones channeling beings on timelines before mirror time that are not relevant to now. And the reason I say that some of the propo-psychics can't access the information that they do from a source of integrity is because each soul chooses what is allowed to come through that way. And gives permission for it. And there are many big figures who do not give permission for information to come through that way. They might give you some of it might be true, some of it might not. This is why it's important to feel into your heart. And just to touch on guides and channeled information, because I think that's probably one of the questions you have about mirror time, is, well, who are people channeling? Who are our guides if everyone is in a witness state? Well, they are standing in witness, record keepers, maintenance of universal order, or they are in future restored timelines, or past fragmented timelines. They are contracted guardians of the mirror gate, or they are consciousness beings, energies outside of time and space. Angels, cosmic creators, harmonic intelligence, source. Or they are fragments and beings or entities stuck in mirror time. And last week, with the shooting of Charlie Kirk, we hit a point where understanding mirror time reached a critical turning point, where many of us will awaken to seeing false timelines being planted, organic timelines ruptured, and the narrative shifting to strike fear, invoke echoes of persecution and silence. An event where someone, and I've mentioned feeling into this, one, mainly, like I said, I was getting caught up in the mirror. And two, because I was doing grid work in Utah. So we have an event where whose soul agreed, who came here to come into coherence, to be a code bearer within the chaos, and became a target for distortion planting. Why? Because the collective needed a clearer mirror. Because the collective was choosing fear instead of seeing. In Charlie's soul codex, it was not intended for him to go out that way. But it was chosen because it was needed. Now, I did not agree with some of the rhetoric of this person or how the media portrayed him to be. That's not always true. And I know in that moment he was not where he could be, where he was choosing to be, who he was choosing to become. But he is an example of what I mean by code bearers anchored in proximity that can either choose or not choose to act, that can either succumb and feed the distortion themselves or choose to awaken, which this person was in the process of doing. And act in coherence with themselves and their own sovereignty. These people I would call restoration builders. So when you feel you're not doing enough, when you feel you don't know what to do with the state of the world around you, feel into your heart. Keep honoring your soul, acting in alignment with your soul's purpose, and working towards your own coherence, your own sovereignty, and your own return through the heart-womb, heart-root axis to greater embodiment. Because then you will know what is in alignment with you. You will know your role and then have the courage to act on it. It might not be politics. It might not be protesting. It might not be public. But remember, you aren't here for everyone else. You are here for the earth and for the all. It might be expressed by helping others. Yes. But you're here to anchor, to help the earth, coherent song, sing back. And that's what impacts everyone else. More than anything else. To finally anchor that coherence in the grid and transcend the mirror. And if this landed Sit with the lenses you're using. Which ones are ready to be swapped for ones your body trusts, ones your body know are true? Thanks so much for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. And I'll keep sharing pieces of the grid work and the trine of return. Like I said, I'm going to Oregon tomorrow. I'm going to share on Instagram some kind of like follow the long ritual suggestions, which you can check out. And if you're ready to move from mirror to embodiment, I have womb root retrieval sessions. You can access the Soul Receiving Alchemist GPT down below. And I have the Chrysanthemum Hall waiting for you to enter.